Right. Hey everyone, my name is Trevor Daly with MagMod. Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of How I Shot It. This is kind of a special one, and the reason it's special is because not only are we going to do a little How I Shot It and talk about some images, but I want to introduce you to the new MagMod team member. Now, I got to say, this is somebody that many of you already know, and you know him because he's been around for a long time. He's been helping in the community a ton. In fact, when the MagMod community, if you've been around for since its inception, basically, this guy has certainly helped you out along the way. And what I've seen is he's gone from helping in the community to then becoming an ambassador of MagMod and actually speaking at different conferences and trade shows. And then he actually was even at the launch of the last MagBox. He was there fielding questions and helping out. So I've just seen this incredible journey from this person. I'm so excited to introduce him to all of you as part of the MagMod team. And then after I introduce him, we're going to actually show some of his images because he's not only is he an incredible person, but he's also an incredible photographer. So with that, let me bring in Mr. Justin Haugen. Justin, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me on, Trevor. I feel like we've done this so many times now, and I always feel it's always a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to sharing some images and talking about how we got here.
You know, Justin, I think the last time we did one of these shows, you were you were like in a restaurant or something, and then you went into a back office, but it wasn't like your office. It was like somebody's office that they came in and they're like, "What are you doing in my office?" Do you remember that?
Yeah, I did. I was at a friend's bar. My friend was bartending. It was my friend's bar, and yeah, I was in the office I shouldn't have been in, and we got kicked out.
That was awesome. I love that. That was so much fun. Well, Justin, like I said, I'm so excited to have you part of the MagMod team because I've just seen you part of this community, part of the team for years, and you know, we've done lunch together many times, and I've told you, I'm like, dude, I see like incredible potential in you. You've just always been one of these people that I think not only are you charismatic, but you're just so sneaking helpful, dude. You help so many people all the time, and I just so appreciate that characteristic in you.
Yeah, I mean, the community is such a great place to show your work, see other people's photos, be inspired, and it's just easy to be a part of that community and want to help people out. So I don't know, it's just a great place to be.
Yeah, awesome. Well, hey, I look at we already got Christian Cardona. He's jumping in here saying, "Hey, brother."
Hey, yeah, he's one of my inspirations too. Like Christian's incredible.
He is. He is absolutely incredible. So, Justin, I wanted to give you just a couple minutes here and just kind of tell everyone. I would love to show them your Instagram accounts, bring that up, and I say accounts because in fact I want you to get into that kind of your how you've evolved over the last year, and I think most people even wonder, you know, how have you done over the last year with this whole pandemic and things like that? So with that, I'm just going to give you the mic and let you tell a little bit about your journey. Is that cool?
All right. Yeah, I'm going to try not to monologue too long, but yeah, I've been photographing weddings 8 years professionally full time. And last year really wiped out my business. And kudos to everybody who's been able to thrive in the pandemic world with weddings. It's been devastating for a lot of photographers and event professionals. And I saw my weddings dry up pretty significantly, and I was also moving into a more commercial event coverage space for one of my clients, and their work dried up. So luckily, 2019 was a great year. It floated me through all of 2020 until I got towards the end of the year and started looking around, and it wasn't great throwing my savings at my mortgage. So I'm actually closing on a home sale here at the end of the month, and I upped and moved from Tucson to Scottsdale, and I'm a little bit between worlds right now because weddings have picked up recently, and I booked 5 weddings in the last 3 weeks after not booking. I booked 1 wedding in all of 2020. So things are starting to turn around. I feel some momentum. There's, you know, everything's kind of coming out of this fog that we've been in, and
Yeah.
The new shift for me now is I'm shifting my work focus towards health and fitness, and I moved to Scottsdale, Arizona, which is here. It's the greater Phoenix area. It's pretty much the fitness mecca of Arizona. There's a lot of influencers up here, a lot of gyms, a lot of people were supporting this industry, you know, medical professionals, and so I'm changing the focus and scale of my shifting my work towards a more fitness and wellness brand approach. So I find that weddings is a really crowded space right now, and you can do so much to stand out from the crowd, but the more you specialize and move into a tighter niche, I think more focused niche, you tend to compete with less people. So that's my shift right now, and that's how I got here. But coincidentally, literally the first week I moved into Scottsdale and started getting situated with my computer. I had been neglecting my work a lot lately because I'm getting my home ready for sale. And Spencer, founder of MagMod, had wanted to share a job listing in my photo community. It's Tucson aspiring and pro photographers, and I said, "Hey, I'm actually interested in this." It was perfect timing, so I'm here now as a customer success specialist, here to help people in a more official capacity rather than just helping people out in the MagMod community with their images.
I love that. And I honestly can't think of anyone that would be better for this, Justin. You, like I said, you've already proven yourself as somebody that loves to help people, and you know so much about MagMod and the product. And so if you guys are, if you need some help with anything, Justin is certainly the person to reach out to. So you can find Justin if you just email into customer support. I think it's support@magnamod.com is the email. Justin will be there to help out. If Justin isn't doing it, it's going to be a JD, myself, somebody else here in our team, but Justin will be the go-to man. And then of course in the community, on Instagram, things like that. So again, Justin, super appreciate you being part of the team and just so excited, man. By the way, Christian says you're actually his inspiration. So,
oh man, that's saying a lot.
Christian's an awesome guy.
Thanks, man.
Justin, before we, I brought up your Instagram. Whoops, I didn't mean to zoom in on that. I brought up your Instagram here for your work. I also wanted to show real fast your wedding work. So if you guys haven't checked it out, one, it has the coolest Instagram name, Photo Warlock, which is just rad.
Photo Wizard was taken, so Photo Warlock.
I love it, man. So we got Photo Warlock. You gotta go check out his Instagram work as well, his wedding work. Tons of fun. So definitely give him a follow. I'll bring up his Instagram accounts here again one more time. Photo Warlock and Justin JPEG. So go check him out.
Yeah, Justin, heavily MagMod driven. It's also mostly like 90% MagMod work.
That's awesome. No, I love it. Hey, what is this? Christina's asking, do you ever do in-person teaching? I'm in Arrowhead. Where's Arrowhead?
I'm not sure.
I'm
gonna guess Arizona. I do some in-person teaching. Send me a message on Instagram. We'll talk.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm an Arizona native and I haven't heard of Arrowhead, so I'll have to look that up. All right, so guys, as I promised, we're going to do some how I shot it images as well, and you guys are in for a treat because Justin, we've done a lot of these episodes where we've done wedding and engagement, things like that. We actually have quite a few portrait photos here, so definitely excited about this. By the way, real quick, Christine just responded. It's Peoria, so
okay.
Which is really close to Scottsdale area. So definitely, Christine, reach out to Justin and I'm sure he'd be happy to help you out. So let's do this. Let's jump into these images. You ready, Justin?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. And guys, if you are watching, if you're tuning in, definitely feel free to leave a comment. We love any of the comments you put in here, the questions, any questions for Justin, comments, things like that. I love being able to see it and bring it up on screen. So Justin, tell us about this image here.
Okay, so my work is shifting more towards fitness, and I right now am doing a lot of spec work, and I'm working with people who are fitness professionals or just heavily into their own fitness journey. So it's my buddy Randy. He's basically a Viking fitness god, and we got to work out in this. He got to work out in this private gym here that his friend owns, and so let's go with the lighting setup. And pretty much all these lighting setups are very similar. It's a 3-point lighting setup. I'm using the Mag box as a key light. And I want to say just the standard diffusion panel. I wasn't using the focus diffuser. So normally I would, but I had lost my focus diffuser, which I've recently got another one. But I usually like to control the spread of light so that way the light isn't hitting other surfaces. So if I had to reshoot this image, I'd like to have that focus diffuser on because I can see that spill on the surfaces above him. And I'm always critiquing my work after the fact, but I would that's how I would clean this up a little bit. But I kind of like it as a leading line leading to his head.
Yeah.
So main light, focus diffuser, main light, regular focus or fusion to panel on the camera right. That was maybe 4 feet to the right of me. I'm shooting this around 35 millimeters, and I had the flash up pretty high with an 8200 in the mag box. So I probably angled up It was probably about a good 8 feet up, and then angled at like a 45-degree angle with the middle of the box aiming for his head. And then I love to play with gels, and especially with if you're going to involve a second or third light, your objective either has to be for fill or for accent or background light. So in this case, I wanted to use the second and third lights as rim or accent lights. So that's why you get that nice little sliver of light on the outside edge of his body. And the idea is with shadow, we can really create shape. And by introducing another light, we get this more three-dimensional look on the light. So I want to really shape and sculpt his body with light and shadow. So I'm using those accent lights to give him some interesting shape on the edges of his body. Also, it helps with separation from the darker background, and you get to play with color. So I love throwing a colored gel on those accent lights just for set a different mood. You could do them without the gels, but it makes for a different type of image. So I sandwiched the colored creative gels under a mag grid just to control that pattern of light, so I wouldn't spread light to all the other surfaces in the image.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Justin. That little edge, that little rim light there, it makes such a difference. I always tell people, like, if you can just throw one more light in there to create a rim, something to kind of edge that person out. And then I love how you used a little bit of color too, which is just fantastic. So, hey, my good buddy from Nepal, Bishal, he tunes in quite a bit. I love hearing from him over there in Kathmandu. And then we have
that's so cool. That is so I'm like, right. I need a moment right now to like geek out over this. Like, I think it's so cool, the reach of MagMod products that the products are in India and Nepal, and we have people tuning in right now on the other side of the world. Like, I don't even know what time it is over there. That's just, to me, I think it's really cool that how far these products have gotten and the work that is coming from around the world.
It is cool. In fact, thanks for bringing that up, Justin. You guys, if you are tuning in fact, just mention where you're tuning in. It's fun to actually know that other people are on the other side of the camera and that you guys are watching. So definitely put in the comments where you're tuning in from, what state or what country. In fact, Bishal, he just says, Justin, I've been following you in High ISO podcast.
Yeah. So me and Rob Hall, we have a podcast on it's on every platform basically, but Spotify and iTunes and all that. And it's a High ISO podcast. So, wow, I'm really honored. This is so cool. We have someone from Nepal listening to our podcast. I got to tell Rob about that.
Here, let's bring up a little picture here of it. There's this podcast, you guys. You can actually see your silhouette right there, Justin, on the right-hand side and Rob on the left.
I've lost 30 pounds since that silhouette. So I think me and Rob lost like 20. So we need to update it with skinnier silhouettes.
I love it. So definitely go check that out, you guys. High ISO podcast. I just pulled up on the Apple podcast preview, but obviously I'm sure it's on whatever podcast program you're using. So love it. I'll throw up a couple more questions real quick here, or not questions, but people. We got Scott Stockton, B Alpha. In other words, he's giving a little shout out to Sony there. We got Amy's watching from Illinois. We got Karen, it looks like from India.
Wow.
And she's saying it's
too. Yeah,
it's 10:32. Yeah, that's awesome. Charlotte, North Carolina. Of course, Scott. Gabriel's watching from Boston. What is this? Can I get physically trained on shoot with MagMod anywhere in India on a paid basis? I'm not sure, Satinder. I'm not sure what the question is exactly, but
I think he wants to fly someone out to have some one-on-one training. I like in the post-COVID world. I'm all for that. I would love to go to India someday because I love Indian food and would love to see India.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go there as well. Lucy says South Africa. Michelle says he. Oh, go ahead. What?
Oh, it's 7 p.m. there.
Yeah, it is fun to see where they're watching from and what time it is. We got UK. I really want to learn this all the way from Tucson. Tim chiming in from Tucson. He's saying high ISO has helped keep him motivated, so that's really cool. Wow. We got another alpha. Cool. I love it. Michelle's giving another shout out saying that the How I Shot It episodes have changed the way. I just love it. So I'm so glad. Honestly, guys, it means a lot to us to know that these episodes are helpful for you guys. So thank you so much. Should we go back to your images, Justin?
Yeah, let's do it.
I got to throw this one up there too from Honduras. Nice. Love it. So let's go back to the images. So we talked a little bit about this one, and then I from this same set, you have another image here. You actually have two more, I think, from this same set. So tell us about these ones.
Yeah, and I don't even have to re-explain the setup on the lighting. It's the exact same lighting setup. I didn't move the lights; they're all in the same positions. I may have adjusted the height on the key light because I am now standing at eye level with him. In the last photo, it's more of a hero shot where you're kind of where and Pi likes to use that term, the hero shot, where you're lower than your subject and you're framed, you're shooting upwards at them to give them this like heroic, hands on the hips kind of look, like your Superman shot. So this one I went eye level. I probably lowered the light just a foot or two, so that way I'm not casting such a deep shadow on the chin. And so just the same lighting setup as the last photo through an 85 millimeter lens.
Yeah, Justin, one thing I will notice on this though is that even though you said you brought the light down a little bit, I do notice that you still have that kind of butterfly paramount and almost even a little bit of a loop light coming off the nose, and which means that light was just barely like right above eye level sort of thing pointing down. When you're actually out there shooting, do you kind of take those kinds of things into consideration? Like, do you like to shoot a certain type of style light, paramount, butterfly, loop, any of that kind of, like, does that come in mind or?
Yeah, you'll probably notice like my work is mostly short light. Like it's my favorite thing to do is because I love to get that shadow on the far edge of the face away from the camera.
Love it.
It's flattering. It makes people look more sculpted. And especially if you work with people who are body conscious, it makes people look a little skinnier in camera too. So it's the number one thing you can do to make people feel more comfortable about their body is to shoot them in short light, because you really sculpt and you put like the parts of their body or face that they're most self-aware of into shadow.
So speaking of short light, Justin, for those, if somebody comes to you and says, Justin, short light, what does that mean? Can you give everyone I know you kind of hinted towards it. You mentioned a few things there, but can you kind of tell everyone what is short light and where would you normally place the light in order to accomplish it?
Sure. If I'm photographing my subject and I'm head on with them and there's a light source perpendicular to us or to the side of us, I want to turn their face toward that light source. And I'm going to turn my video light down just a little bit to see if I can get some more window light here. You can see right now.
There you go.
I'll put my shade up. This is live.
So you're going to create a short light for us so we can see. Is that right?
Yep. And I'm just thinking my head right. Okay. So I'm basically going to turn my subject towards the light source, and I want them with their eyes like looking into the camera here. And that's a short light scenario because you're taking the side of the face that's closest to the camera and putting it into shade. So now we're sculpting. We're like if I was broad lighting this side of the face, like it was getting all the light, you would see all of my face. But when you put it into shadow like this, we're sculpting away the most apparent part of the face into shadow. And then the side of the face that's further away from the camera is what's getting all the light. So this is a short light setup versus a broad light is if I turn my head this way. You're basically just turning your face toward or away. And so now, like more of my face is lit. I look fuller. And if you had this is not how I normally want to light people, but unless they're like a really skinny model, and then you can pose them any way you want, and it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's just a way to sculpt the light. It's more cinematic. It's more dramatic. It's more motivated lighting. Like when I watch movies and cinema, that's what the kind of lighting that I pay attention to. A lot of stuff is short lit in movies.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. No, that I think that was a perfect explanation, and I love how you're able to demonstrate it right there for everybody, so they can kind of see that. So hopefully that made sense. If you guys have any questions about it, let us know. But let's go back to this image here, and you can see what he's referring to is, I wish I could draw on the screen. I'm gonna have to figure out how to do that by next episode. But you can see how the shadow side of the face, it's just barely short lit. It's that light was just barely pushed. It's probably like at maybe like a 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock position, and it's just lighting him up from that right side, camera right, and you got the shadow on the left. Love it.
And the thing to remember is when you put stuff, when you create dark areas of your image, you are now leaving yourself a blank canvas to add light. Because if I had brought those lights, if the lights are closer together and they're on the same axis, they would all compete for each other. You wouldn't see it. You'd wash out those colors. But because there's dark areas of his body, I can bring in that slight bit of subtle accent light with color that you couldn't see if there was, light washing out the entire image. So dark areas of an image leave you a blank canvas to add your own light.
Ooh, I like that. Justin, a few more people tuning in from around the world. We got Vietnam is watching. We got Got another one from India here. In fact, a few more. Satinder was saying that he's from India as well. Um, let's see. We got a couple comments on the lighting. And then also, I love this one. This is Dada saying he's watching from Saudi Arabia. It's kind of fun.
Wow.
We have a global audience today, which is a lot of fun to see. Right on. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. And you guys are in for a treat because we got some really, really great images that we're going to be talking about. Juan Esteban, he was just featured on the MagMod Instagram account, actually. Saludos desde Colombia. Awesome. So, awesome. So, Justin, let's talk about this one then. This is similar. I mean, you got the same model, but looks like you moved from inside to outside here.
Yeah, and you're going to notice the lighting patterns are all the same again. I think I might even have a light tucked away behind him, behind that corner of that building. I think there may have been just barely a little bit of light coming in from another source. I mean, it's hard to see it here. But again, short lit flashes in a mag. It was a mag box, camera right. And I want to say maybe I did have the focus diffuser. I could be wrong, though. And I'm aiming the center of the mag box for the eyes. That's what I always do because I want the hottest part of the light to be right at the eyes, and I want the light to kind of fall into shadow and darkness away from the face. So usually aim your hotspots at your subject's eyes is my first piece of advice for where you're positioning the light and where you're aiming it for. And then again, we get with that short light, we leave some room to sculpt the backside of the shadow part of his head with that accent light. So camera left, probably about 10 feet back, is another gridded light, which I didn't gel this time. So it's just a bit, no ungelled gridded 8200. And you can see that little bit of definition coming out the backside of his head. Mostly that's where you see that I call it the light sandwich. It's main key light on the face, shadow strip, and then an accent light. So light sandwich.
I like it. Light sandwich. Nice. Hey, before you talk about this image, Justin, Brian has a question, and I think it actually works for this image as well because we have a short lighting going on here. So he's asking. He says, for short lighting, is the light placed at 3:00? Where is there like I guess it depends on how close the subject is to you and the camera and so forth. But is there kind of a starting spot that you might when you're trying to accomplish a short lighting?
Sure. Yeah, and it's relative to like where your position. You're like if we're 6:00, if I'm at 6:00 on the clock, and my subject is the center of the clock, then the light just needs to be anywhere off axis, left or right of me, and then I turn that subject's face toward the light. So in this case, as soon as you get the light out to like 5:00, 4:00, almost to 3:00, once you get to 3:00, you're looking, the light source is now perpendicular to you and the subject. That might become side lighting depending on how you have the subject positioned and where they're posed. So anywhere from like 5:00 to 3:00, but 3:00 is bordering on side light. So I think it's like 5 and 4 roughly. So as soon as you can start to see that shadow on the far edge of the face or on the close side of the face, and that's when you're getting short light. So it can be like a deeper light or a more shallow light.
Yeah, and it really depends on how much their face is turning as well. Because even at 3, if they're turning a little bit more and you're getting that light coming across. So yeah, there definitely is some factors there. But well, tell us about then maybe with this image. This is also short lit because we see the shadow side of the face. So how do you like this one here?
Yeah, and key light focused diffuser on a mag box with an 80-200 camera right, probably about 8 feet away from her and up about 8 feet high. And I can see like the shadow from her chin cast on her neck. The reason why I like this high off angle light is you just get to sculpt body and tone. She's a fitness athlete who wanted to showcase her hard work. And I want to try to get as much shadow play going on into her body. And also I love that deep shadow on her chin, on her cheek. And so yeah, just that's the motivation for the light placement with that light. And I wanted to do a hero shot. So I wanted to pitch the camera up. I wanted to position her to the side of the frame. And I just wanted her looking heroic and just badass. So that was the motivation there. And then again, we're doing a light sandwich here. I've got the accent light, probably a good 15 feet camera left and way back down the sidewalk with a grid on it pointed at the backside of her body. And so we get that light, shadow, light, that light sandwich. It's just my favorite way to light an athletic body.
Dude, all this talk of sandwiches, you're making me hungry, man.
I haven't eaten breakfast yet. So.
Are you doing intermittent fasting?
No, I'm doing unintentional intermittent fasting. I just didn't have time to make breakfast.
I love it. Hey, Derek mentioned he loved to play with shadows and hard light, which I totally agree with. I didn't get. He's saying, "Hey, he's chiming in. 6 shot is what he says." Um, and I just want to address a quick question. Dada is saying that in Saudi Arabia, he's having a hard time finding authorized dealers. Dada, email our support team, support@magnetmod.com. We'll either find somebody there close by that you can reach out to, or if nothing else, we like to know where customers are that maybe we can reach out to dealers in the area and see if they'd be willing to carry MagMod products. So definitely email us and let us know. All right. Justin, speaking of light sandwiches, let's go on to this next shot. Did you use a light sandwich here?
No, actually, this one I didn't use. This one is more like a light noodle bowl of ramen. I don't know. I'm just thinking about food, things I want to eat. So for this one, we're camera left with the main light, and just so like people know, this is like an exercise for me. I haven't looked at this image and I don't have the BTS handy. I didn't dissect this image before I looked at it. I'm just recreating the lighting setups by looking at the image, and it's everything you need to know about the photo is tipped off in the shadow placement and where the hot spots are and what's being lit. So I just know immediately. I'm looking at this photo, and the light was just barely left of me, probably like around 7 o'clock, maybe like 7:30 o'clock to the left of me. And it was positioned up probably a good just barely above eye level. I don't see like a super deep, maybe like 7 feet high, aimed for her face. And what I'm getting here is a little bit of Rembrandt lighting. You get that upside down triangle of light underneath her on our right, her right eye. That nose shadow reaches over to the cheeks. You get that upside down triangle, which is a signature Rembrandt lighting. And I noticed that the only other thing I have going on lighting wise is I've got a mag sphere. I always have fun with that word. Mag sphere behind her pointed at the wall with an 8200 pointed at the wall. And I didn't use any colored gels here because I wanted to show the mural behind her. So I'm definitely have the background lit. So if you're introducing a second light or a third light into your photos, there's 3 purposes for it: either fill those shadows in the front of your subject, accent light to get those shapes, that shaped lighting on the sides of your subject's body, or to light your background. And in this case, I used it to light a background. So that's why I used a second light here.
That's awesome. I love how you use that mag sphere back there to really bring out the colors and make it pop behind her. And I'll mention something. I love how you mentioned in the beginning, like, hey, I'm just dissecting the lighting here. I'm telling you what I'm seeing, and I'm telling you, based on that, where I put my light. I think that's one of the best things that people can do, photographers, when they're trying to learn lighting, is to actually study images and try to dissect it. Try to say, okay, I'm seeing the shadow coming from this direction, and actually one of my favorite things that I used to love doing was when my wife would be like at the grocery store, or the whatever, Walgreens or whatever, and she'd be looking at makeup. I would be the one looking at all the makeup really close, looking at the photos, because you can see the soft boxes in their eyes. You can see everything. I would look a little creepy doing it, but that was what I enjoyed doing.
Yeah,
So.
maybe if you're at the waiting room at the doctor's office for your significant other to go through an appointment, I'll flip through anything, a medical journal, whatever. I'm always examining photography, and then I'm like, I could have lunch with a friend and notice light patterns in their face. It's just subconsciously that it's always on. Watching cinema, watching TV and movies, like I can't turn it off, and it's just a good practice. So I'm like, I can instantly identify what's going on with lighting, for anyone's photos usually.
Yeah. I remember one of my favorite places as well was Target, because again, she would be walking around shopping and I would just be looking at all the big photos with all the white backdrops and dissecting them. So good stuff. Love it, man. So then tell us about this one. By the way, I loved how you called this one a light, or what was that? Light ramen noodle?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I want for lunch. Oh, that's a
All right,
light sandwich here. Back to the light sandwich. Oh, and one little thing I like to mention, especially like people love to be lit differently, and when working with Black people, I've noticed that I love to wear a quarter CTO or a half straw, because it really, like, golden hour on Black skin just comes out warm and I really think it makes for a good look. So I think in the last 2 photos I used I want to say a half straw, because it was close to golden hour in the first photo. So I was trying to mimic some of the lighting that was happening in the color tones. So it's a great way to like lock in.
Love that. Thanks for that tip.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about this one, Justin.
This one's the most light sandwiched photos you can have. So a grid, I think I want to say focus diffuser on 8200, camera left, and I literally just pointed it straight at her and said run to the light, and then directly behind her on the same line I had an 8200 with a grid, and I can still see. Okay, I definitely had a half straw here because I see that the light on the front of her is warmer than the light on the backside of her, so I had an ungelled gridded 8200 the light placement was really far. Like there was probably like 15 feet of space between her and the light in front of her, and another like 20 feet behind her. So I was really trying to. And the other reason for this is because of the inverse square law. And what I mean is if the light was significantly closer to her and from the front and back, what would happen is the light, as she moved through the scene, like the closer she was to the rear light, you'd have really bright light and really dim light in front of her. And when she got closer to the front light, she'd be really bright and overblown on the front side and dim on the rear light. So because I moved the light so far away from her, the difference in light fall off in the middle area was more minimal. So I had more even lighting from the back side of the frame through the front side of the frame. And I know I just threw a lot of information at people, but what I'm trying to say is that the further light is away from people, as you get to the further reaches of the light effectiveness, like there is less drop off. So what I wanted was even lighting from beginning of the frame to the end of the frame. So that's why I had the lights so far away from her in this photo.
Yeah, I love that. Justin, and I'm glad you brought up the inverse square law, because that is one of those important laws that, that people need to understand with light, and how just moving it just a little bit, or you're moving your subject closer to the light, can really make such a huge difference. So just going back to this shot right here, actually, let me jump back to it. When you talk about light sandwich, essentially what you're referring to is just cross lighting, right? You're, like a 3 and a 9 position, basically. Is that correct?
Yep. I just want that light on one side, the key light. I want that strip of shadow, and then I want that backside accent. So I'm basically just positioning lights. Like if the lights were on the ends of a broomstick, they always stay in that kind of configuration. They're cross-lit, no matter where you position them relative to your subject. So I always want as long as there's a light in the front area and the back, like you'll always get that cross-lit look. That light sandwich.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm hungry.
No, perfect. I'm glad you do. I don't want people to, if they Google light sandwich, they're going to come up with this here. So I want to make sure that they know, if they want to Google, if you guys are actually trying to Google light sandwich, look for cross light is typically kind of what he's referring to. But in Justin's terms, I love it. In fact, Derek actually is giving you a big shout out here. He says this guy knows light. There are people who have understanding of light, and then there are those who own it. Bravo.
Wow. That was very kind of you, Derek. And if your profile photo is any indicator of your knowledge of light, I think you own it as well.
Derek definitely owns it. In fact, Derek's one of the guys that we're going to probably have on a How I Shot It very soon here. I got to set it up with him, but he's not only is he an awesome fan of MagMod, but he knows his lighting for sure. He's an amazing dude. Cool. So Justin, let's go back to your images and let's talk about a few more of these here. What about this one here? This is amazing.
Okay, this is over by Tempe Town Lake at the Arts Center over there. It's a really cool building, some cool architecture there, and definitely key light, camera right, with a mag box 8200 and a focus diffuser. So I was trying to get. I love the focus diffuser. It's my favorite thing that MagMod's created because it has the benefits of narrowing the focus of the light like a grid does. It keeps the light from spilling outside of that. It focuses the light down, and it removes the loss of light that you get using a normal diffusion panel. So it's almost like it's within like 1% as effective as shooting bare flash. So when I throw a focus diffuser on, I know I'm going to get that diffusion that I want. I'm going to get the focus of a grid. The light doesn't spill as much, and I get max light output from my flash. I love it. It's really great when you're working in brighter daylight conditions because you're going to be competing with the sun. So focus diffuser, camera right, 8200. I bet the light was probably a good 9 feet up, and it was in a precarious spot because this is like a walkway. On the other side of her is a fountain. She would have fallen into water. And I used I want to say it was close to golden hour here. Actually, it was just past twilight. Maybe I think, or just at twilight. I think the blue hour, the sun had just dropped below the horizon, and I was missing the golden hour light because I love it, and I wanted to reference it. So I used a half straw here, or maybe a quarter. I think half straw has been one of my favorite gels, is the half straw for that warm golden look. And then out of frame, camera left, another gridded 80-200 aimed at the backside of her body, just the slightest of fill. Like if you can, I don't know if you can zoom in, but you can barely see that little bit of accent lighting on the back of her leg, maybe. So just a little bit of, I can see it there. And then I wanted some movement, so I told her to throw her dress back a little bit. I didn't want her to walking up there, so I just told her to kind of confidently lean forward and throw that part of her dress back. So
love it.
Yeah, cross light again.
Nice. In fact, looks like is this the same? No, this isn't the same person, is it? Yeah, it is.
Same person. Yep. Outfit change.
Okay.
Same location. I shot this with the 85mm lens, camera right, mag box. I think regular diffusion panel, not focus diffusion here. I think I also went with another half straw light. I'm trying to reference those golden tones coming out of the sunset there. So I wanted to, whenever I want the light from my flash to reference light in the scene, I want to try to match the tones that I see. And so this is a very warm sunset. So golden hour is always very warm. So I love to throw a half straw and to reference that light and make the light match the light that's already there. So the mag box is just out of frame. Like I'm talking like where that black line is, where the border is, there's just right outside of frame is that mag box. So it's very close. The other thing you have to consider is light in the eyes. So the brim of her hat, if the light's up too high, you're not going to get that light into the eyes. So I would have probably dropped the light just a little bit lower. What I'm missing that I would like to see are catch lights in her eyes. I don't know if you can zoom in and see if they're, maybe it's kind of small for me, but the slightest of catch lights in her eyes. Okay, so I'm glad they're there, because otherwise, if you don't get catch lights in the eyes, you kind of get a soulless looking face. It's just kind of blank. It's not a great look. And also notice that she's short lit because she's turned her face towards the light. And I've got a gridded 80-200 out of frame, probably a good like 10 feet away. I wanted even light spread on the backside of her body at a very low power, just a little bit of fill on the backside, a little bit of accent, because I wanted to light her shoulders up. I didn't want her backside of her head to be completely in darkness. So another cross-lit example.
I love hats. I always dig it when my subjects will have like hats and stuff, but at the same time, when you're shooting it and you're trying to light it, it makes it a little bit tricky. You really have to make sure that light goes down enough where you're not just creating this huge shadow, and you don't lose that, like you said, the catch light, which you nailed here. But it is tricky, and you have to be aware of those kinds of things, So, Justin, we do have Diego is he's saying he's watching from Belize.
Oh, nice.
And he's saying, do you know where Belize? Have you ever been to Belize, Justin?
I have not. I would love to visit.
I've been there once, and it was cool. I love the place. I actually got to go look at some ruins there, so it's pretty neat.
Is that a Spanish-speaking country? Because you speak Spanish fluently, right?
I do. I speak Spanish. They speak Spanish, and they speak another. In fact, maybe Diego can fill us in, but they speak another language there. It was like a, what is it? It's like a
Mayan type. Is it like a indigenous now?
No, it kind of reminded me of I'm trying to think of what's the language they speak in Jamaica. Man, now it's gonna bother me. Now I'm gonna have to look it up.
Is it like? Okay, it's probably like one of those like where is it like you get like some French and some other things mixed in.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. And I remember we had a tour guide, and he was taking us around. Oh, Creole. That's what it is.
Creole. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say Creole.
Yeah, and I couldn't remember what it was exactly, but it was pretty fun to go see. Yep, Dunia Orsorio is saying Creole. Yep, exactly. So cool. Well, Justin, I think we have maybe one or two more images. I think
one last.
Yeah, this is incredible too. Is this the same person as well?
Same person, same hat,
yeah,
same outfit from the last image, and so note that. The direction of the light on the clouds. So I have her facing towards sunset, but in this image, she was in the shadow side of the building. So there was none of that awesome golden light on her, which I love golden hour light and I love it on the skin. So I wanted to get that on her. So she's up on a platform again, and I went for all in on the hero shot here. So I got that upward angle going on, a little bit of environment around her, negative space, and I wanted to reference those gold tones. So again, half straw gel in the mag box. and I want to say I was using just a standard diffusion panel here, and it's just out of frame. It's up high 10 feet because she's up high. She's probably like 3 or 4 feet off the ground
Okay.
in this shot. And then just the most subtle of accent lights out of frame, a leather 8200 with the grid ungelled out of frame, probably to the right over about 10-15 feet. And I again reference lighting. I want to reference light that's already in the scene. If I had ungelled that light and lit her and she came out looking white, more color neutral, it would not match the tones in the background. So I'd probably would have warmed her up, and I would have made the background even warmer. So if we want to match our lighting in the scene, then you want to gel your lights. If I had just lit this ungelled, her skin would be, and at this color temp, her skin would be much bluer compared to the background. So I would probably in post warm her up a little bit and push her up to like 6,000 Kelvin, 7,000 Kelvin. And then what happens is you get your background, your ambient light turns even more orange. It might maybe unnaturally so, but that could also be something creative you can play with as well. So.
No, and I don't know if you saw this comment by Anikit, but he's saying it looks exactly like natural light, and that's exactly right. It's you're basically matching that golden hour light, but you're putting it exactly where you want it, and so that it matches the sky and the sunset and everything else, which is incredible. Derek also he matched what I was kind of saying earlier with the brims of the hat. Difficult, but you really pay attention where that light was placed. So
cool. Thanks, Derek.
Yeah, good tips, man. Good stuff. I can't remember. Did we have? Yep, I think this is the last one, right?
Yeah, last one. And then this would be our blue hour. The sun she's looking towards the same direction as this where the sun set in the last image, but now you notice the color tones have changed in the sky. Again, cross lit. I've got a camera. I got a MagBox 8200 on it on a stand. Camera left just out of frame, pointed at her, and then and she's broad lit for once in a photo, so I haven't turned her face completely toward the light, but just you get the closest side of her face to the camera is getting all of the light, and then the short side of her face away from the camera is getting a little bit of an accent light from another gridded 8200 flash, mag grid on an 8200 flash just out of a camera, out of frame camera right. And again, cross lighting again, and you'll notice like I probably did some variation of the same lighting setup for like the last 5 or 6 images. And the thing is, once you dial in light location, you can take it and move it to any other spot. So just once you get a look going in, move your camera, move your subject, move your lights, but also you can keep the same lighting arrangements in play. But what's different is the location and the pose. So you're not really, there's not a lot you can really do with variation. So once you get a good look going, just move that lighting setup to another location. Don't spend too much time in one spot. And also everything else that can change would be perspective and lens selection. So play with your different lenses, play with different positions of where you're going to be in the frame and where you're putting the subject. Yeah. And I think I may have, I want to say I went green gel on the main light here. I think I went like the half CTG, or what do we call it?
Yeah, plus green.
Plus green. I went like with the half plus green here, and the reason why is when I get a green tinted light on my subject and then in post correct for their skin tone so they look more color natural, you push your ambient light into more magenta hues because you have to use magenta to counteract the green. So I got a little bit of purple tones going in the sky there. So that's not natural. Yeah. You wouldn't normally see the sky that way. So that's me making a creative decision about how I want the ambient light to look in the mood of the photo. Thanks, Chris.
I will say though, Justin, one thing that I notice is when I'm shooting sunset, like I'll be looking towards the sunset, right? And then I always like to turn around and actually shoot towards the blues and purples that are behind me. Mm-hmm. So typically, I'm shooting towards sunset. If you look behind you, you're always going to get those blues and purples. And I'm guessing, was this about maybe 15 minutes after sunset? Something like that?
Yeah, remember? Just after sunset, and probably about 10 to 15 minutes afterward. And this is when I start to slow it down, and I'm like winding up the shoot. But there's still light to play with. There's still things you can do creatively after the sunset. So yeah, I like to play with the mood. The mood is different because you notice everything else before this was very warm, and now we got this cool, like winding down kind of vibe. So I wanted to do something different with the light.
Justin, one other thing I just happen to notice is I feel like you've done a really solid job here just on like posing and stuff. Is there any tips? I mean, between you got movement here, you got the hands on the hips, you got the grabbing the rails. Is there any tips that you would give anyone with regards to posing and how to help your subjects look their best?
Yeah, and So I think like if you look at the very first image and then the third image in this sequence,
Uh-huh.
it's very hard as a photographer who's uncomfortable with posing to pose your subjects in lots of negative space. If they're just strictly like one of the toughest things you can do is put somebody in negative space or like in a white backdrop in a studio. You need either a really talented model or you need to be very comfortable guiding the posing. So my advice to you is like go to the next photo, is use surroundings to anchor your subject to. Give them things to like lean against, give them things to like interact with. So like, oh, you know, I could have turned her around and had her lean on the rail. Like I think as a beginning posers or people who pose people, I don't know, posers is like a different thing. If you're a poser, don't be a poser. But yeah, you want to give your subject something to interact with. And I think it'll be a lot easier on you because you know what it looks like to have somebody like, lean on a rail. And also I like, and so give your subject things to work with. So the very last image, the one we just talked about, she's leaning against a rail. So like, how hard is that to tell someone to like, hey, just put your hands on the rail? And then she's already doing it. And I tell her to just play with this a little bit. Can you shift your body motion a little bit? And there's things that she can do to shift her weight around, kick a foot up. So give your subject things to interact with in their environment, and it'll help with some of the posing cute things will come up naturally, and you'll get inspired by what's going on. Also, I like to work with the points of the body, shoulders, hips, knees, any kind of joint, like work with different variations of that. So in a couple images back, we had her shoulder was up. So you can work with shoulder movement. And this is all different when you're working with guys. It's completely different. This pose, if this were a guy, like there'd be more straight leg going on. It's more stoic.
Sure.
But with her, there's a little bit of playfulness in her hip positioning and her knees. And I want to push her body weight around a little bit, or I want to cross a leg in front of the other because we want to get that S curve from the body and show shape that way too. So posing can help with showing shape, just like lighting can as well.
That's awesome, man. Those are great tips. I love it. I just noticed. And do you do a lot of movement in your shots? Because I mean, you had the one running, you had the dress. Is that something you try to incorporate a lot?
It's one thing I have to remind myself to incorporate more of because I tend to fall into routines, and it's easier for me to not direct movement than it is to just think about it out of the blue. So I have to really and it's good that you mentioned that because especially I'm going to be photographing fitness now. I think I'd like to make my focus be on movement and how to communicate movement and images better. So that's going to be a goal for me moving forward, is how do I communicate movement in a still image. So it's not something I normally do. I have to really focus on it to make it show up in the work I'm doing.
Love it. Justin, it's been a pleasure, man. I've really enjoyed just chatting with you. And guys, if you haven't already, let me pull up your Instagram one more time. Go check him out. This is his brand new fitness brand that he just started basically focusing on. So definitely go check that out. And then I already I closed it out, but here, let me bring up Photo Warlock here. You got Photo Warlock as well. So definitely go check out both of those. Give them a follow. It will be well worth it. Like I said, Justin is an amazing dude, and you'll see him in the MagMod community as well. And I know you've spent some time in other communities. Like I think what's the community, the Godox one?
Oh yeah, I help admin the Godox user group with Rob Hall, and let's see, I've got my local group, Tucson Aspiring and Pro Photographers, and if all goes well, it's looking like I'm on the speaker list for Shutterfest in September, so we're getting in-person live photo events. So that's going to be, hopefully we're all out there together in St. Louis in September. And I think I'm kind of feeling like maybe WPPI is in play too. So hopefully I'll be presenting at both events.
That'd be awesome, man. Well, you certainly would be a huge benefit for those trade shows to have you presenting. So there's people already here. They're saying you're the man. Exceptional images. So certainly appreciate you being here, Justin. And selfishly, I look forward to working with you because I've always, like I said, I know in the past you and I have grabbed lunch a few times at some Korean barbecue places, and I've told you then, and I'll tell you now, you just have huge potential, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity that Spencer's given us to be able to work together. So it's gonna be a blast.
Oh, one last thing. High ISO podcast. We're going to be relaunching here in the next month. I'm going to get back on top of recording episodes. But there's 32 on there right now. So check it out.
Yeah, you know what? Let's bring that up one more time. As far as is there something that you guys specialize in when you talk about that?
It's all things like we get abstract too. So it's not just like there's evergreen topics where it's going to be skills based, business based, but also more abstract. Like how do you balance your personal time and your business with your home life and relationships, and how do you like what is style and what is in your photography? How do you make style? And then we have great people. We've interviewed people for the podcast too, so you can see some people here in our show list. We've had Pi on before. We've had Jason and Chasney Vinson. We're awesome MagMod ambassadors. So we've got some great people who have shared some really cool conversations with us.
5 worst purchases ever. I like that.
Yeah. Not MagMod, not
MagMod. Alexis, he's an incredible commercial and sports photographer. I love that guy. He actually uses MagMod as well. On occasion, he has some large soft boxes and things, but on occasion he'll throw some gels in there. And actually, I've been seeing him rock the Magbox quite a bit lately as well. So
yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, Justin, again, it's been a pleasure, man. Really appreciate having you on here. We got Sherry's throwing some hearts your way. We got Christine saying thank you. And you're busting out Justin Bieber right now.
This is finger hearts in Korea. We do finger hearts.
Finger hearts.
So it's supposed to, they hold it up like that, and there's supposed to be a heart shape in there.
That's too complicated for me, man. Something like that. And then Annika saying the name suits you. You are the photo warlock. So awesome. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in for these shows. And what a joy. I agree with Justin. Just seeing everybody, where you're coming from, and we had India and Vietnam and Honduras and Belize, and I mean it was all over the place. It was so much fun seeing all you guys. So thanks for tuning in to these shows. We super appreciate you commenting and liking and all that good stuff. If you missed it here on Facebook, these shows do get put up on YouTube as well. Or if you're like me and just enjoy watching things on YouTube versus on Facebook, we do put these episodes there. So you should see it in about 30 to 60 minutes or so. We'll put it up there. And then of course, if you have any questions and you need to reach out to support at MagMod, stay tuned. You're going to get some emails back from Justin. He's there to help you out as well as the rest of the team here. So we love our customers and we love the MagMod family. So again, thank you. Justin, you rock, my friend. Thanks for taking the time with me this morning.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Trevor.
All right. Have a good one, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.